And today's guest is a highly motivated action taker focused on results. Most of us business owners concentrate on where we are going with a plan to look after ourselves when we get there. So what happens when this journey to success is longer or more stressful than we thought? We take our bodies for granted until something stops working through injury, illness, neglect, or other mishap. Our bodies can pay the price, but they don't have to. Today's guest began her career in the world of technology, where workplace stress led to stress injuries of her spine. Focused on her own recovery, she became familiar with the Alexander technique and saw the benefits of structured regime of structural self-care that focused on recognition of our habits, sensory awareness, direction, what we do and not do, to help us regain a sense of control over the influences and an intention to set us straight in more ways than one. But in 1998, she left her old computing career and retrained as an Alexander Technique practitioner, teaching people from all walks of life how to better stand, sit, and relax, and even runs retreats near her home in the Lake District, where many of her clients get to leave all of their troubles behind. Always keen to bring the best from other disciplines, she's even trained in yoga, among many other things, to bring the best of many worlds to her mission to not only help those to recover, but also to help to create a practical preventative way for business owners to help not let the stress of their mind become the stresses of their body. With a talk focused on preventative self-care for business owners under stress, we bring to you Alison Marsden. Good morning, Alison.
So I've been helping people do this for over 20 years, and I'm going to give you a snapshot of what I do. So here is someone with a back pain. And why do you think people get back pain? You can just shout it out, you can unmute.
Bad posture.
Bad posture, yeah.
Because we're meant to be crawling on all fours, but we're actually walking on two legs. We're a bit of a weird creature, really.
That's a
Speak for yourself, Syndrome. I'm quite happy standing up.
Yeah, and then there's the obvious one of injury. So you can have an impact injury, but not resolve it, and it creates long-term tension in your body. And then there's a classic stress. Stress causes a misalignment in our spine. And then, like you say, we're actually designed to move four limbs. You don't have to be crawling, you know, we could be swinging from the trees, but our environment gets us too much disconnected with our body. So they're the main things that cause back pain. And what sort of symptoms do people get? So you can just shout it out. What sort of symptoms, other than the pain in the back, what else? Now, Yolanda, you might know this, if she's paying attention.
Yes, I'm giving you my full attention. Obviously, people have pain. They also have a lack of movement.
Yeah.
They also can't sleep. They can't rest. They can't relax.
Shout at the dog.
Yeah, shout at the dog. Shout at the children. Shout at the spouse. Shout at their friends. Can't talk. Can't really, you know, like discomfort.
Yeah, they get a headache, so they can't function properly.
Yeah.
That's why.
They get afraid of working out, scared of doing it the wrong way to hurt the back further, and then they just evil cycle.
Yeah, they get stuck. They hold themselves because of the fear of pain. Yeah. And then that starts to affect their mental health.
Yeah.
Because they can't move.
Yeah, becoming depressed or sad or anxious, as Sindra said.
Affects their social life. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because they can't do things. Yeah. So the process that I do to help people get some results is just 3 steps, because as I've worked in the computer industry, it's got to be simple and straightforward. So I give them a period, what I call harmonize. So I help them have an experience of no back pain with movement. So it's the key thing, it's movement. So they can build that confidence to move. So in that period of harmonizing, they then feel all the positive results. So the results that they get an increased awareness. They discover what they're doing to their body that's causing the pain. And because they get ease of movement, they then are motivated to repeat the process. Because the key thing is repeating it. So they harmonize, they get an experience of increased energy, and then we repeat it. Because as we repeat the process, then they get better alignment again in their spine. Yep. So I'm hoping that you are going to have a little bit of an experience of this now. Okay. So that you'll have this sense of lightness in their body. Because as we begin to sit, and we sit for too long, we begin to collapse. Yeah. And then we start having to hold ourselves up against gravity. So I'm just going to show you something before we do something practical. So as part of this process that I teach people, it's like I'm teaching you how to use the currents of gravity to your advantage. So I make analogies to sailors. They use the wind to move around effortlessly in a boat. Birds fly in the currents of the wind. Yeah. So what we want to do is move on the currents of gravity that fall through our body. So here we've got our head balancing on top of our spine. So imagine my 2 fingers are the first vertebra. So if we were to let go the weight of our head, you can see its center of gravity is in front of that pivoting point. And that's why when people fall asleep on a train, their head jolts forward. But this is a beautiful design because we've got all these muscles that connect from the back of our head down our spine. So here we've got the spine. So we've got our head balancing here, and then these vertebrae have one connection between each. So it's like a domino effect. So if we've got our head rolling forwards here, it actually pulls on these vertebrae going up because our head's releasing off the top of our spine. Does that all make sense? Just do thumbs up. Yep, great. So I've got a little practical here for you to do. And I've drawn it out so you can see it. So here we are. I've lost my pen now. So I want you to all look at yourself when you do this, and in a minute you'll be standing up. So we just stand up, and then we're going to bend at our hips and our knees. So we'll glance towards the floor, and then you'll bend, keep bending so that your head rolls forwards and you can look between your knees. Yep. And the idea of this is that when we're balanced, when we're standing up, we feel as if we have to hold our head. Whereas if we do a forward bend and we're letting our head drop, gravity is then falling through us in a different direction. And it's easier for us to let go of these neck muscles. Yep. So one of the things that I do when I'm at the computer too much, I might go for a walk, and after a couple of minutes, I do what I call a forward bend. So I really let go of my head. And then I slowly come back up. So that's the key thing. And Richard sneaked in this word direction in my introduction. So what a direction is a thought that your body will then translate into undoing muscle tension. Yeah, so when we come up, you want to think of your pelvis dropping and pushing your feet away so that gradually you come one vertebra back up at a time, back into standing. And hopefully you will have found some release in your neck. So if anyone's worried about doing this little routine because they're worried about their back, then you could do it really gently. You could do it sitting down if you want, or not do it at all. You could just watch everyone else do it. Yeah, so are you all okay to look after yourself when you do this? Yep. So shall we all have a go? So we're standing up and you're looking in front of you, arms resting by your sides. And then you're going to start hinging at your hips and bending your knees so that your gaze is towards the floor. And then as your knee starts bending, eventually your head will be able to look between your knees. So you're looking at the world upside down. Yep. So your head is dangling between your knees. And then when you come up, you're not going to lift anything. You're just going to let your pelvis drop, bend your knees a little bit more, and then push the floor away with your feet, leaving your head dangling and slowly coming up one vertebra at a time. Head coming last. Great. And then just notice how your head balances on top of your spine now.
Feels better.
Feels better.
Yeah.
Right. Anyone else want to give any feedback?
It's this. I've done this something similar, at least a lot before, when warming up for like doing a theater, like a play or something on stage, where we have to move a lot around, and we call it a spine roll. And for me, it's a great way to kind of loosen up and get ready for something.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, Sindra, because our vagus nerve, so that's the one that is responsible for the rest and digest in our body, comes out of our vertebrae in our neck. So if we're tightening our neck, it sends a stress response to our body. So if you're about to do something that's quite anxiety and causing, then doing this forward bend or spinal roll, what did you call it, Cinder?
Spine roll. Spinal
roll, yeah. Can be really beneficial to take off that stress response. Yeah, there's a lot of nodding there. Great. So to finish off then. So when people start working with me and I do some, they start to feel quite different in their body. And they get this awareness of how they can use gravity to their advantage. So everything becomes easier. So their awareness increases. And then they feel they can make different choices in their life. So that's key, because as they begin to move differently, they think, oh, I can respond to my environment differently. And then finally, they say this is a skill for life. And that we should start teaching it at schools and with people who are a lot younger than age 50 to 55, which is my general age group of my clients. Yeah, so I am working with people to do preventative work as well. Some people who haven't got back problems, and I do an online class on a Tuesday evening. And if any of you are happy to do a one-to-one, and I could give you some top tips with your workstation and also find out a bit more about your business as well.